People of the internet, how you doing? I am that African guy, and today, me and Rob Jones are going on a road trip as Totalcultzone presents The Road to Patagonia.
I know I really like him.
Well, I like her, and I'm pretty sure she likes me. I mean, we're traveling on motorbikes, so it's not a perfect scenario.
Just live and live outside and be free.
Hello, Mr. Rob Jones. How are you doing?
Hello, you're right. I'm back again.
Back again for something a bit more your speed, I'm guessing. It's a bit of a no-brainer why I asked you to be on today.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of stuff that I watch all the time anyway. So, yeah, kind of like as much as I go out hiking and doing stuff like that, I'm quite an armchair adventurer as well. So, yeah, I love the ideas of massive journeys, and independent, the independent travel films, if you like. So, yeah, this was right up my street when you sent me the link to the trailer. I thought, oh yeah, we'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, because you've done a bit of hiking yourself and a bit of traveling, a bit of camping. The question is, why?
Why do I want to see the world under my own steam?
And your own poop in a bucket or a hole in the ground, I'm guessing, a
Dig a
lot of the
hole in the
time.
ground, mate. Leave no trace. Yeah, I could talk you through the process of digging a perfectly sized cat hole,
I'll
but I
go. I'll
don't.
say it now. That's the main thing that kind of puts me off doing it. Really.
I I don't know. I think it is just that I speak quite a lot about um the feeling of moving through a landscape at your own pace and to get all highfalutin. It's. I think that's how you get to know a place better, or it's better than passing through it in a car or just dropping in somewhere. If you can get a real feel for a place, a real vibe for the place, you can. And when you're hiking long distances, you get to, even in this country, when you're like doing 20 miles in a day, like you can go from lowland pastures, and then by the end of the day, you can be in, you know, the mountains, and just feeling the landscape change under your own steam is wicked. And obviously you get different vibes depending on the weather and that, but yeah.
That's why I picked you because of the theme of the documentary. You've seen plenty of stuff online about the topic and similar stuff to this film. Guessing you could be dropping them throughout the review, maybe. You can go into detail at the end of any names you've seen online that you quite like, any series online. But for now, let's head to the synopsis. Follow ecologist Matty Hannon on an incredible solo adventure as he leaves his life in the city behind for the great outdoors. Surfing his way along the west coast of the Americas, his ambitious voyage takes him from the Alaskan wilderness to the tip of Patagonia. But just as the dangers and isolation of such a trip take their toll, he meets the girl of his dreams, a permaculture farmer, Heather Hiller, who throws caution to the wind and joins Matty on his 50,000 kilometre odyssey. I think it's 50,000. Riding south on motorbike and horseback, worlds collide and the duo encounter Zapista rebels, Amazonian shamans, and Mapuche leaders, whose salient words crack the adventurers' cultural veneer, leaving them with many existential questions. Shot over 16 years, the result is a beautiful documentation of the untouched natural world that few get to experience, offering a thrilling new perspective on our place within it. Now, the film has received widespread acclaim as the Australian Film of the Year. Brackets the movie guys. They're the authority on the Australian Film of the Year. Maybe they are. Quickly becoming an Australian $1 million box office sensation in the country. Awards so far include Best Film at Byron Bay Film Festival, Best Documentary at Paris Surf Skate Snow Film Festival, Jury Awards at Maui Film Festival and Surf Film Festival, and Audience Choice Awards at Melbourne Documentary Film Festival and Florida Surf Film Festival. There's an entire festival for Florida surf films. Nice. The Road to Patagonia invites you to take a break from the digital life and reconnect with yourself, the earth, and each other. Premiering exclusively on the Icon Film Channel from 1 month from the 30th of May before hitting UK cinemas on the 27th of June. So that's all the press out of the way. What did you think, Rob?
When you sent it through to me and I saw the trailer, well, like I said before, like it's exactly the sort of stuff that I watch all the time on YouTube. Um, I really like the big, massive journeys. I like the ambition of those things. And when I saw the trailer, I thought this looks really good, but them two are going to wind me up. I just had a feeling that, yeah, something about our protagonist was going to annoy me.
Matty and Heather.
And then
Yeah.
Matty and Heather. Um, yeah, but overall, despite it taking a while to get going, I thought it was good.
Hmm.
There's lots of problems with it in terms of like a documentary. But overall, I thought it was all right. Not to bury the lead or whatever.
No, it's a documentary. It's hard. Not a lot to spoil in this one. I did make a note at the start because Maddie Hannon sounded familiar to me. I was like, okay, I know that name from somewhere. Turns out he's not the lead actor in the film Samurai Cop.
Did you not? I went. I immediately went. Is it Matty Healy from the 1975?
Maybe. No, no, Matt Hannon's the lead in Samurai Cop, which is a great bad movie. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's not him. Okay, cool. He's a documentary maker apparently. It was quite obvious from the footage he's got from the start when he's in the little village.
Yeah. So what I liked about it is that like I did a little bit of digging, and it did was saying that it was all self-shot on like a little Canon camera and GoPro. So like when I watched the trailer, I thought a lot of it looked like it might be contrived, as in like gone back to do
Yeah,
reshoots and
reconstructed.
all of that sort of thing. And I don't get that impression. Um, but yeah, I don't know. See, it's like it feels like it could have been just a YouTube thing rather than a big release. And that isn't I don't mean that to be disparaging. There's some really, really good stuff on YouTube right in this field, in this area. What I like about like YouTube and even like the minimizing of technology, that like the GoPros and that technology evolving, is like it does democratize the making of like these adventure films.
Hmm.
Like if you go back, skating always had like a DIY film ethic, didn't it? And you'd have like big camcorders and whatever to make
Fisheye
skate.
lenses.
That's it. Um, but obviously that was very urban. So like you never really had to lug a big analog camera very far. Um, but then I suppose the evolution of the digital camera and action cameras, GoPros, well, phones nowadays, I suppose, they make it possible for anyone to go out and document like these massive trips. And then YouTube obviously makes distribution easier. Back in like 2013, 2014, there's maybe like 3 or 4 films on YouTube about hiking the Pacific Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail out in like goes from Mexico to Canada up through California and Oregon and Washington. And now it seems that everyone who hikes the trail is also making a film about it because a GoPro weighs nothing. Um, there might be a conversation that needs to be had about, does documenting a thing change the nature of the thing itself? But
Yeah, is this the digital age of if you don't film it, it didn't happen?
didn't happen. Um, I used to do outdoors YouTube a bit, and it turned into ball ache after a while, and it took a lot of the joy out of the experiences that I was having, so I kind of stopped doing it. But I have in the past made a couple of like films, if you like. One of them got to the semi-finals of the New Forest Film Festival. And that was like a 3-day hiking trip around the New Forest with my boy. We did about 60 miles in a few days, filmed it, and then kind of shoehorned it into a narrative a bit. And and I didn't know exactly where it was lacking. Um, but yeah, like this one feels a bit like he's got a load of footage and he's tried to shoehorn a narrative around it or through it, I think.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, go back to the
but
press.
overall,
Actually,
it was good.
there's go back to the press. Is like, take a break from digital life and reconnect with yourself. Are these people actually going on hikes with all the equipment and filming themselves, actually taking a break from digital life, or is it smoothly feeding their digital life?
Hmm.
So
I
yeah,
mean, nowadays you have like actual YouTubers if you want, and the act of you or doing the YouTube, making the films is paying for them to be out making the films.
mm,
So it's that kind of feeding the never-ending feeding of the beast, if you like. But it
yeah,
comes down to that authenticity, doesn't it? Really.
yeah. I agree with you on the fact it feels like a YouTube thing.
Mm.
It did because I've watched a few travel videos. Probably not as big into them as you, but when you watch those ones, it's kind of broken down, and they'll sort of speak to someone for a while, and that'll be like one episode.
Mm.
And if they're in a certain area, they'll stay there for like for one show, and it'll be broken up like 13 episodes, 20 episodes, whatever, like really long ones. But they sort of break it down to 20-minute things, or speak to someone for 20 minutes, or go to an area for 20 minutes and look into the area. And this one felt like a speed run,
Yes.
go from Alaska to the bottom end of the trail, and it's just like, was it 45 minutes, 50 minutes?
The whole film was an hour and a half, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
there was a lot. Overall, the film to me, I'm jumping ahead in my notes a little bit, but the film to me feels like it could easily be like three really good 20-minute YouTube videos if you took bits out. So you've got like the motorbike trip, like from the top of Alaska down into Mexico. Then when they get on the horses, that feels like a separate thing. But then
Mm.
there's another line about, I don't know, native and traditional communities and the threats against them, and how government always seems to prop up these heavy industries that are stripping the resources. And I think overall that's the ambition of the film is to link the whole journey to the threat of indigenous and traditional communities and rural ways of life from heavy industry and government corruption, and it never quite manages to tie it all together.
Yeah, because it's also framed as a love story between the two main characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have been more interested in hearing the stories a bit more in detail,
Hmm.
which is where you could have done a YouTube series and sort of gone into details about the Zapista rebels and the Mapuche leaders, Amazon shamans, that kind of stuff. So it says that they encounter those, and it's like maybe 2, 3 minutes with each of them.
Yeah, and then they move on really quickly. I like this is what I've got in my notes. I'm saying, like, overall, I think it's a good film, but it takes a while to get going. Um, and I wasn't expecting all that stuff at the start on like the Sumatran island with the
Mm.
native people. Um, they're kind of like a hero's origin story, isn't it?
Mm.
Um, but I don't think it needs 20 minutes in this film. It could be a thing on its own, and you know
Yeah,
that has
again,
its place.
it's like its own story on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoyed the stuff where he's alone in Alaska. When he first gets up there, they did the whole thing at the start with the camper van catching on fire, and then we never went back to that. It just kind of 1 minute the van's in a ditch, then it's on fire,
It's on
and
fire,
then
mate. It's on fire. You need to
and
put
then
down the
next thing
camera, mate.
yeah, and but then all of a sudden he's got to where he's going, and we never speak of that ever again.
Yeah, it kind
Um,
of felt a bit disconnected from the rest of it.
I like the whole isolation, living in a tent on a beach, and that kind of triggered all of my "oh, I need to go and live in the woods" impulses. But I didn't believe for a moment he was surrounded by a pack of wolves in his tent.
Maybe one.
But maybe there may have been something. It's probably a beaver. I don't know.
Oh, maybe they're just
Um,
sniffing around. It's like something in there.
um, there's the whole boy meets girl stuff on a beach in Canada. That felt a bit close to home to me actually, because obviously I met Hazel while I was off on my travels. Um, and again, maybe they could have dug a bit more in if they were doing a more of like a YouTube series. They could have dug more into like her little community and the community farm stuff and that while they were there. But this film's meant to be about the trip, so on with the trip. Um,
Yeah, because they say about that she abandons that to join him.
hmm.
It's like, okay, but then
Well,
if
no,
they
they on
built,
she sells it just like that. She manages to sell her
yeah,
farm.
that's what I
So
mean.
what?
It's like
What?
there's no, you don't really think too much about it 'cause it's just oh, she runs this permaculture farm
Mm,
here and she really likes it, and then she just sells it. And it's like, but they don't show anything in detail like that could say another episode.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
like why she loves it so much, how important it is to her. And then when she sells it, it's a bigger deal.
But you could also tie that cooperative farming into the whole traditional communities, rural living thing as part of the through line. But again, they don't get deep enough, do they?
Yeah,
So, and then the rest of the motorbike stuff happens quite quickly until his mates come along for a surf trip, and that kind of takes me out of the film because it's meant to be like this solo independent travel, but suddenly there's eight of them and they're all partying and letting off fireworks and like, I don't know. Again, I suppose you could dig into something around that like surf community to tie in, an alternative community within all these other communities that he's visiting. I don't know. Um,
yeah. The surfing stuff is my least favorite part. And then showing the
hmm,
surf scenes, I'm like, okay, and they're shooting it from a distance. I'm guessing if you're into surfing, it's really exciting or really beautiful. And I'm like, this is really boring.
hmm.
It's like that could have been left out completely.
Yeah, but also they didn't need he like I know he wanted to go on this epic surf trip, but as soon as you're swapping motorbikes for horses, is it actually ethical to make these horses carry your surfboards? And then there's a whole scene about how they're trying to train the horses to carry the surfboards, and they're clearly not enjoying it. So maybe just go on a horse trip. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. To be fair, the horse stuff, it's almost a film in its own right, isn't it? And that's where I did get invested again. I like the whole idea of that slower pace of travel, and they're not just looking after themselves now. They have got a duty of care to these animals.
yeah. Is it because you cared more for the horses than you did for them?
Um, I
Because
think it triggered
that's
again. Talk about triggering. I think it triggered those sad cowboy vibes in me. But I reckon I've got a horse trip in me at some point.
yeah.
Um,
I felt it added some sort of risk to the adventure because it's you've got the four horses. They're looking after the horses as well.
yeah,
And then they bring in the thing about, oh, one of the horses is old. It's like, oh
yeah.
dear.
And
It's,
there was that spell where they couldn't find any water as well.
yeah, there's like a risk to them being injured or dying
Hmm.
because they can't find water. It's like, well, if they're those two, they can go off and like, oh, yeah, we just leave the horses here and go on.
Yeah, because I think it's that slow travel thing that I enjoy the most, and like it clearly gives them more time to film stuff themselves.
Hmm.
And it becomes a little bit more like I think grounded is probably a good word. It feels a little bit more rooted in the land that they're traveling through because they're not on motorbikes now. They're moving, at a
Yeah.
pace.
Just the reason
Um,
why they went to the horses rather than the motorbikes. They
yeah,
weren't seeing the actual nature. They
enough.
were just on the
Yes.
motorways.
Um, and again, they talk to. That's where they start spending a little bit more time with like people from the traditional community. So they've got like is it the Maquetcha people they talk to, and then there was the guy who was talking about Pinochet, and
The
then
Future leaders, yeah.
the guys that were trying to stop the hydroelectric dam being built, and they talk about how the government send the troops along with the diggers and the bulldozers to make sure they get through and prop all of that up. But as soon, like you said, as soon as we get that, and starts to get a little bit deeper into what's going on around those communities, it's hang on, trip, Patagonia, gotta go. That's all that really matters. And then the trip doesn't matter at all because as soon as she decides to go home, he has a cry on the camera, and then boom, he's in Patagonia. and that's like 700, 800, 900 miles that we don't see. Suddenly he's just walking down the road and the Fitzroy Massif is in front of him, and I'm picking holes in it, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. I'm picking a lot of holes in it. I think it could have been a lot more. There's really important stuff in there, but they don't quite connect the dots well enough. And I think with it feels like he was committed to making a feature film or a feature length film, whereas if he had been a little bit more, what's the word? If he'd been a bit more open to changing that plan, then
Yeah, I
maybe
think
flexible. Yeah.
isn't there a thing of when people make films these days, they want them to be put into the cinema rather than just on streaming
Mm.
because it gives the awards, it can go for awards that way. Because if it's just on streaming, you can't get nominated for the Oscars, I think it was, or certain award ceremonies won't
But this is never
acknowledge
going to
it.
get a massive run in a cinema or anything
Yeah,
like
but
that, is
it's more
it?
the
It's
prestige, isn't it? It's I've made a film, it's a feature film, it's been in the cinema and theaters rather than doing a YouTube series or even a TV show. Because this would have been a great TV show.
hmm
It's like it's a
But
step
it's
up from being YouTube
in
channels, but YouTube channels are like the
yes.
littler guys. This guy's obviously got some experience in it. He could have made a great TV show over so many episodes, but then yeah, it seems like
I don't.
prestige over doing it for something you really want to delve into and the love of it almost.
I don't know. I think some of the stuff I watch on YouTube in terms of like the quality and the cinematography of it, and like it's so much better than this, and so much bigger in its scope and its ambition almost. But yet, I think it's easy to look down on things and go, "Oh well, it's only on YouTube, isn't it?" But if you look at what
That's
some of
pretty
these
legit.
guys are doing completely independently to a standard, and there's no reason why something for that you've made primarily for YouTube you can't submit to film festivals like this guy's done. There's not a it has to be an hour and a half to be eligible for
I think it might
film
be the case
festivals
it's
and
been
stuff.
put somewhere else. You
Right.
can't put it through all ceremonies because there's like loads of little stipulations with those awards
Mm.
things where it's was it the song is not original, it can't be put up for the
Yeah.
best original soundtrack or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like really complex rules, and if it goes on YouTube, you can't put it as a film in an award ceremony. You
No, but
can't
you put it on
do.
YouTube after. Is what I'm getting at. It's
All
like
right.
yeah. So my friend Tom, he made a film a couple of years ago with another guy called From the River, and it was about a 15-minute short film about the goings on the River Fowl down in Cornwall, um, and that basically had a run around for a couple of years. It went round 5 or 6 different film festivals, and then it went on YouTube. So you either saw it at the film festival, or now you can watch it on
Hmm.
YouTube. But he's got all his rosettes or whatever you call them, the laurels, that you want for that, so we can go round. I don't know. I like some of the stuff that I do watch, and you can see he sat that like they go away and they've got a GoPro and a drone and a MacBook, and they're making stuff on the road as they're going. It's not like a collection of footage over 16 years that he's kind of tried to shoehorn
Hmm.
into a thing. I don't know. I kind of admire the ambition, and I think it's a good film, but I think it could have been a lot more.
Yeah, it kind of sums up in the way of was it industry, big businesses, bad, nature, good.
Mm, yeah.
And if you're into that kind of stuff, you'll be the one actually wanting to see this film. I don't know if the surfing aspect of it is a way of pulling more people in to see it and just giving it's like a starter pack for this kind of lifestyle,
hmm
maybe. But yeah, it's the love story was the selling point in the press, and I there was never any point that they weren't going to end up together, so there was no like
No, no.
no drama there really. They had a few arguments, but they end up together.
Um,
Sorry, spoilers. Spoiler's not a spoiler because it's pretty obvious they end up together at the end.
Yeah.
The real kind of drama where it happens when they get the horses and
Mhm.
as you say ethical reasons. It was a bit because my partner was like, I showed it since she might like this because she's into nature ecology, permaculture, and she went, "Yeah, I'm not watching it. Why? Horses."
Okay. So there's a film from a few years ago called Unbranded by a guy called Ben Masters. I'm not sure if it's on. I think there's a moody copy on YouTube, but it's on one of the streamers, or you can pay to watch a decent copy of it. Um, and he rescue. They basically what in America they round up wild horses because they overgraze where they want to run cattle. So they round up the wild horses and um, cull them, basically. So he rescued them, a load of them, and took them from Texas up to some reserve in Montana where they can be free. And it follows his journey of basically taking a herd of unbranded horses like thousands of miles. And that's a really, really good film. And but that's made with like a production team and stuff like that as well. But um, yeah, if you want to watch something with horses, I'd recommend that one.
I mean, it's more the risk that the horses might die.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah,
always that risk when but
yeah. But that's what the when the film kind of picked up for me that bit. Like you say, it slowed down. It showed nature
mm,
as it is. There was a bit of drama, a bit of risk, a bit of there's like I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't want the horses to die. I really care about the horses.
yeah.
These guys,
What did you think about that whole scene where he's like, "Oh, we've saved them from going to the butcher's shop"? That felt a little bit like, "Oh, is that actually really going to happen, or did you just phone your mate anyway? Did you just happen to have some footage of a pig at a butcher's shop and I don't know."
yeah, as you say, I think there's maybe some dramatization with it.
Mm.
It's like creating a bit of a story with it. Possibly it is true because there are some shitty people out there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The other thing that kind of I found not difficult. There was an awful lot of narration rather than like exposition to the camera. And maybe again, it's from because most of the stuff I watched is a lot more we're
Mm,
here and we're doing this thing right now, and it's the person you're watching. That kind of makes it easier to relate to the people you're watching. And I think like that extensive use of narration just puts that barrier between you caring about the people.
mm. Yeah. So I, yeah, I kind of enjoyed it.
Hmm,
Like I say, it is a bad film. There's some faults of it, but I enjoyed
yeah.
it. I like the message of it. I'm not too keen on the love story.
No.
Did Matty and Heather annoy you as much as you thought they would?
No, not as much. Maybe the narration helped for that. I don't know. Um,
I
no,
thought
they didn't
they
annoy
were
me
the
as much.
same person pretty much. I felt like they were the same attitudes.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, they're going to end up together. They're
I think they would annoy me in real life if I met them.
I think the other thing
That
I had was my main notes was about how the idea of like going and living in nature and appreciating it all is great. How many people can actually afford to do that though?
yeah, exactly. Who can just like that's all I want to do. Like,
Mm.
um, we'll get into it in a little bit more in a minute, but I've been watching these guys on YouTube, and they just got some cheap bikes, and they've quit their jobs, and they're riding to Morocco from Manchester. And like it's given me the bug. So I've texted a friend of mine and said, you're the only person I know who is into bikes. What kind of stuff do I need for like bike touring? So instead of going and hiking and camping, I can ride a bike and go camping." And he's like, "Have you got a bike?" And I was like, "No, I was going to go up the tip and see what they're giving away up there." And he's like, "Well, if you're into it, you can have my old one if you want." And he's been trying to sell it and he can't sell it. He just wants it out of the way. And I was like, "Oh, all right." So because of watching these guys on YouTube,
Mm.
I'm now going to be trying a different form of human powered transport. But I think that's probably my biggest problem with the film is that there are like 1,000 of these on YouTube, and maybe 600 of them are better. Um, they might look better, or they might tell a better story, or have more relatable people involved. Um, that might come from like because it's on YouTube, it's a thing that I might be able to do kind of
Hmm.
connection. I don't know. I just got a feeling that if not the journey wasn't contrived, but the putting together of the narrative was just a little bit, you know. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of first person talking to the camera to explain situations, relying a lot on the narration, and then at some point they're like sat on a sand dune talking about how they love each other in a like, traditional A-roll interview type way, and then they don't do that ever again. So it's like yeah, just jumbled. But yeah, I'm glad I watched it. Thank you for sending it to me. But I'm probably going to stick to my YouTube.
So it's a recommend, not a high recommend, but soft recommend. It's
Soft recommend.
cool.
If you happen to see it, if it's on a channel you're watching, it's worth an hour and a half of your time to watch.
Cool.
I've got a few recommendations for other stuff on YouTube if you want it. The first thing that I watched years ago, back about 2012, 2013, was a film called Mile and a Half, and it was these guys who hiked the John Muir Trail in California, which is about 220 miles, go through Yosemite and finishes up on Mount Whitney. But they did it with a more traditional setup, so they had like full cameras and sound guys and all of that, and the actual production of the film was part of the film itself. It kind of made it so like what do we need to do to make one of these films traditionally, rather than like how you do it now with all your more mobile equipment. So yeah,
Hmm.
mile and a half if you can find that, that's good. Um, Unbranded, I've mentioned. That's the Ben Masters film about the horses. He also made one, uh, a follow up called The River and the Wall, which was all about the Rio Grande and how building a massive Great Wall along the border was going to screw up the environment and the communities along the river. Fuck you, Donald Trump. um, One of the other earlier ones I watched was called As It Happens by a guy called Andy Laub, Laub. And that's like one of the first ones I saw of a guy doing the Pacific Crest Trail, him and his mate, and he's filming it on small gear, so point and shoot cameras, maybe a GoPro, and it's like a 2 hour documentary of a 6 month long hiking trip. Really, really, really good. Um, and then my favorite stuff at the minute is these guys on their bikes. They're called Too Far Gone. Um, and it's literally just a couple of guys with a GoPro and a phone, and they got some bikes off of Facebook Marketplace and some camping gear from Aldi, and they're riding from from Manchester to Marrakesh, and it's just really authentic. It's just a couple of decent blokes going out for an adventure, and it's 20-minute episodes, and there's no fancy B-roll or any of that. It's just they get the camera out when they remember to get the camera out, and it's really relatable and makes you want to do it with them, or just go off and do your own thing as well. So there we go.
Nice. I'll throw them all in the show notes. Yes, actually reminded me of YouTuber I used to watch a couple of years back. Not fully like hiking and nature. It's more urban camping almost.
Oh, is
Urban
it Steve
travel.
Wallace?
Oh no, this is
No. Oh, you recognise the name Steve Wallace though,
I probably passed him on a couple of things.
right?
Because I've started watching Ed Pratt's videos.
Right.
He unicycled around the world
Hmm.
and went from the Thames source to sea
Yeah, I've been
recently.
watching him as well. Yeah. So, the other one I have been watching, which is I meant to say, which is a really good comparison to this, is a guy called Ryan Kodak Brown, and he and his wife have set off at the start of the year from Patagonia to go to Alaska on push bikes, um, and they've got like really high cinematography standards, I think it's the best way to put it. And like each episode is half an hour long, covering maybe like 500 to 600 miles of the trip. Episode 3 just came out last week, but you can see they've got the drone and a GoPro and maybe a little camera, and he's sat in a bus stop from the wind, editing as he's going, and putting up. And it does again rely on narration at times, which can be annoying. But it feels a lot more authentic because like some of the production is in the thing, So yeah, so that's Ryan Kodak Brown.
Kodak Brown. Yeah, the guy I was thinking, Vagrant Holiday. I think you ever
Oh
heard
no,
of
I
that
don't
one.
know that one. No.
He does travels to countries and stealth camps, sometimes doing urban exploring, climbing up scaffolding of old churches, sleeps in hotel stairwells when he gets in there, hotel cupboards. So just sneaks into buildings and sleeps in there, or just sleeps in a bush. I think he actually last uploaded the video 4 years ago, and he's entered
Hmm.
into like YouTube lore because no one knows who he is. He never did it for the money. Didn't care about views. He just sort of posted a few videos and just disappeared. And the last video of him was, I can't remember where he was traveling. I think it was somewhere in Mexico, and he got mugged for all his camera gear with machete, and the video just stops halfway through, and he just explains
Right,
at the end of it like, "Yeah, I got mugged," and that's the last video he ever uploaded.
right,
I
man.
think he updated, I think he re-uploaded the video 7 months ago apparently, and changed his bio recently, so maybe having a new video out. But he's like one of those YouTube mysteries. Vagrant Holidays is a good series.
If people are interested in like the more environmental side of it and like almost like the activism side of protecting these spaces, then clothing company Patagonia, they put a lot of time and effort into making films and stuff around stuff that's going on in these places that, like Trump allowing ramping up logging in the national forests and removing protections from national parks and national monuments and stuff like that. It's quite US based, but they did some really good stuff over there. And then if you want an audio alternative, then the Dirtbag Diaries, which is one of the very first podcasts I ever listened to when podcasts first were invented. They've been going for 15 years now, maybe something like that, and they'll do stories of adventure, but then they'll also they'll have activists on and people who are working to protect these spaces.
Whole load of links there. What are yours, or do you have any anymore?
I don't really have any. I'm kind of messing around with the hiking stuff again, but it's just messing around. So try justupthetrail.com. That's probably going to be different to what I said on the last episode last time, but go with that.
Get show notes. I'll put something up there.
Yeah.
It is good. I liked your last ones. They're like just you walking around the New Forest, doing a
Yeah.
few bits, and it's like a meditation. There's nature in the background, just talking.
Thank you very much.
It's great just listening to you walking around the streets, and you're like, I feel like I'm in nature.
Yeah.
No, it's bloody London.
Thank you very much. That's really nice, actually, because it's trying to find that balance between recording the nature and then having Robbie chatting on in your ear hole. And whether there's too much Robbie and not enough nature, I don't know, but birds are birds, aren't they?
Yeah, you could do two, where it's like just you walking around.
Yeah, there are plans in place for a more kind of ASMR nature sounds bizzo going forward. So
I would try that. Just you hear my nose whistling. I was aware of that the other day when I was doing my recording of this drawing. It's like whistling down the mic. I need to cut that out somehow.
gets the old hairs on your arms going.
Oh, that and scratch my beard.
Mr. Belson will love that.
My stuff, which includes my recent video where I tried drawing on camera, which may be an ongoing thing. Find it at Totalcultzone.com. My stuff is there. My social media is whatever I'm using, and a Ko-fi link. So if you wish to give me some money, keep me in sketchbooks, comic books, cat treats, yeah, donate some money. Great, really is giving me money so I can buy more comic books. Really worth your time. Totalcultzone.com. Really selling it. And I don't think they're best spoiler zone because yeah, it's a happy ending.
Yeah,
most of it.